Our topic for today is learning how to do conversions. And the method that I'm going to show you is a very powerful method that, assuming that you go on to take any science at all, is really a very powerful method that you really need to learn. You may have learned other ways to convert metric units from one form to another, but I would really recommend very, very highly that you learn to use the method that I'm going to teach you today, even if you're able just to normally move the decimal point and do it a different way. Because again, this method is one that's going to be very, very useful as you move forward in your science courses over the next several years. So everything that we're doing today, as I said, is going to be conversions, and we're going to start with some conversions that are probably more familiar than maybe the metric system would be. We're going to start with converting one unit of measurement to another unit of measurement. I believe in your book that they do an example where they say that you had a friend who read for a certain number of seconds over the summer, but that didn't really mean much because you really needed to understand how many hours she read to determine if that was really all that long or not. So if I have the number 1,200,000 seconds and I want to know how many hours that is, how do I go about changing that? Well, anytime you do a conversion, the way you always start is you take the number that you're given, so in this case it's 1,200,000 seconds, and you put it over a 1, okay? Now, before I go any further with this, I probably should make an analogy for you so that you understand where we're going with this. If you've done fractions in the past, you know that if you take 3/4 and you multiply that by 4/5, you know that these 4s will actually cancel out and you'll end up with the fraction 3/5 for an answer, because you can cancel out things that are either above and below each other, or if they're diagonal, you can cancel them out that way as well. So that is the same principle that we're going to be using here. You've also learned in math that if you multiply by something over itself, it's the same as multiplying by 1. So if I take this and multiply it by 2/2, 2/2 is exactly the same as 1. And so I may change the way this looks, but 6/8 and 3/4 are actually exactly the same thing. So even though it looks different, it's in a different form, I haven't changed the value of it. Here I have 3/4 of a pie. Here I've got 6/8 of a pie, same amount of pie, just the pieces are smaller, okay? Because I've multiplied by 1. And we're going to use those same two principles as we're doing these conversions. So I'm trying to convert 1,200,000 seconds to hours. So I'm always going to take what they give me and I'm going to put it over 1. Now, what I want to do is I want to multiply by something that is going to change the way it looks, but it's not going to change the value of it at all. I need to get rid of seconds. And so if I'm going to try to get rid of seconds, if I want it to cancel out, seconds is going to have to go on the bottom. Well, do I know how many seconds there are in an hour? I don't know off the top of my head. Perhaps you do. I do know how many seconds there are in a minute, and so I can convert that way. So if I have 1 minute, I know that that is the same as 60 seconds. So you can see that what I've put on the top and the bottom are equivalent to each other. 1 minute and 60 seconds are the same thing. But look what happens. Now, my seconds here will cancel out, and I'm left with minutes, okay? Now, I can say, well, if I need to get rid of minutes, now I know how to get to hours, because I know that in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. Again, 1 hour and 60 minutes are the same thing. They're equivalent. So all I'm doing is I'm multiplying by 1 again. And so minutes will cancel out, and I'm left with a unit of hours. Now, I fully expect that you are going to want to use a calculator for these. I don't have any problem with that at all. You don't have to do it out longhand. So I'm going to take 1,200,000 If the numbers are on the top, you're going to multiply. If they're on the bottom, you're going to divide. Now, obviously, if you multiply by 1, it doesn't change anything, so I don't actually need to type that into the calculator. But I have 60 on the bottom, so I have typed in 1,200,000. I'm going to divide that by 60, and then I'm going to divide it by 60 again. And so I have an answer of 333.33333. It keeps going forever and ever and ever. So I'm going to round that answer. I'm going to have 333 hours that this person actually read. Okay? So I can say, okay, yeah, she really did read a long time, but she read over 300 hours. That's a lot of reading to do. Right? So what I'm doing, take what you've been given, put it over 1, multiply by some sort of conversion factor where the top and the bottom are the same, and you're going to try to arrange that so that your units will cancel out, and so you're left with the units that you want at the end. Okay, let's try another one. I mentioned that I have a 4-year-old grandson, and I want to find out how many minutes he's been alive. Okay, so I'm going to start with 4 years, and you always take what they give you and you put it over 1. Then I'm going to multiply by something because I need to work my way down to minutes. Now, do you know how many minutes are in a year? I don't. So I do, but I need to figure out what do I know about years? Well, I do know that years is going to have to go on the bottom. I know how many days are in a year. And so I could multiply by that and change it to days. In 1 year, there are 365 days. Now, yes, for those of you who are perfectionists, I have rounded that. It's technically 365.24, but 365 is close enough for our purposes for this type of problem. Okay, so my years are going to cancel out. Okay, now I've got to get smaller. I'm not to minutes yet. Do I know how many minutes are in a day? No, but I do know days and hours. So if I know days here and hours up here, in 1 day there are 24 hours. Both of these are the same. So my days will cancel out. Can I relate hours to minutes? Sure. I want hours on the bottom so that it will cancel with this one. And do I know how many minutes are in an hour? Yes, in 1 hour there are 60 minutes. So I'm going to cancel out the hours, and I'm left with minutes, which is what I'm looking for. So again, I'm going to take my calculator. Now this time, everything on the bottom is a 1, so this time I'm going to be multiplying that out. So I'm going to take 4 times 365 times 24 times 60, which is going to give me 2,102,400 minutes. Okay, that's how many minutes my grandson has been alive. All right. Now let's look at some conversion problems where we're using the metric system. Where these come in are the conversion factors that I told you in the last video that you needed to make sure you had memorized. If you need any ones beyond those, then I'll make sure I give them to you, but the ones that I gave you, you need to have memorized. So I have a rock that weighs 14.351 grams. I want to convert that to kilograms. How am I going to do that? Okay, well, just like I did up here, you always take the number that they give you, the number that you start with, and you always put it over 1. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit simpler than what I had up here because on the rest of these, one conversion factor will do it. So I need to get rid of grams and I need to convert it to kilograms. Well, with the conversion factors that I told you to memorize, you should know that 1 kilogram is the same as 1,000 grams. So therefore my grams are going to cancel out, and so you're going to take 14.351 and you're going to divide it by 1,000. So when I do that, what that's going to give me is 0.014351 kilograms. Remember, when you divide by 1,000, there's 3 zeros, so you're just going to move that decimal point 3 places to the left. If you need to do it on the calculator, that's fine. Okay? I have 0.121 liters of milk. I want to convert that to milliliters. So I'm going to take the 0.121 liters. I'm going to put it over 1. And then I need to get rid of liters. I need to convert it to milliliters. Okay? What do I know about liters and milliliters? Well, again, you should have memorized in 1 liter, there are 1,000 milliliters. And so my liters will cancel out. I'm multiplying by 1,000. And so that's going to give me 121 milliliters. Okay? Finally, I have a measurement of 723.9 centimeters. I want to convert that to meters. So you take what they give you, you put it over 1. You have that down yet? I keep saying it. You always take what they give you and you put it over 1. Then the next conversion factor, whatever you're trying to get rid of, has to go on the bottom. So centimeters has to go on the bottom. Do I know how centimeters and meters are related? You should if you memorized it. In 1 meter, there are 100 centimeters, so centimeters will cancel out. So I'm going to take 723.9, I'm going to divide it by 100, so that will give me 7.239 meters. That's the beauty of the decimal system, is that when I'm just multiplying and dividing by 1,000, all I really have to do is move the decimal point, which is a lot different than what I was doing up here when I'm converting these units of time. So in your assignment today, you are going to have some samples, some sample problems, some practice problems where you are going to be doing these types of conversions. So make sure that you know what you're doing. And if you have any questions, make sure that you ask me.